So welcome everyone. Thank you for joining us today for our panel discussion as part of the Women in OR and Analytics Network. This panel discussion is titled Things I Wish I'd Known Earlier. We have 4 speakers and a chair. I'm just to introduce myself. So I'm Catherine Kent. I chair the WORAN network. And I'm just going to do a few intros to WORAN in case this is your first time. So as a reminder, the WORAN is one of the networks as part of the OR Society. We're here with our objective of supporting and promoting women, but we're open to all. So yeah, all colleagues are welcome to come along from analytical professions. We put on events monthly, and we almost always do them virtually, so opportunity for everyone to get access to them. But if you miss any of our events, perhaps this is your first event and you want to hear more about some of our other events, we have a YouTube channel where you can access that, and you can access that through our page on the OR Society website. We also do things like socials. We have a foot in the camp of mentoring. So look out for us as and when. So I'll get this in early before you all run off at the end. That our next session is from Professor Dolores Romano Morales, who will be talking on the subject of AI and machine learning, but making it responsible. And that's on the 15th of May, same time, 1:30 to 2:30. This session today, usually we do the third Thursday, but because of Easter, this one shifted, but tend to stick to the 1:30 to 2:30 timings. So before we launch in today's panel, Karen, would you be all right to put up a poll if people on the call, we because this is very much thinking about what you'd wish you'd learned earlier. It's really interesting to get a sense of the sort of career journey of our people. So let's see who here is a student versus who's working, and then we looks like lots, not as many students, but we have one. So hopefully we'll have a few more. Oh, here we go. The students are slow to respond. I don't know if I can do it. I don't think I can actually enter my poll, but never mind. Fabulous. And I think we have a second question as well. Yes, which was about where we work. So industry or academia. So majority of people here are in academia, but we split industry to government as well. So yeah, we've got a fair few there. And as we mentioned before, some students. Great. Thank you. That's really helpful. So let's move on to Karen. Can I take this poll down, or can you take it down? I'm just worried that now I'll.
All done.
Fantastic, thank you. So here we go. So on to today's session, and we've got 4 speakers today. So I wanted to do a quick shout out and welcome to them. So Professor Sonia Crowe is Director of the Clinical Operational Research Unit at the University of College London, where she's a Professor of Operational Research. She had a PhD in physics and worked in gauze before joining academia in 2009. She's worked on a wide range of projects relating to health and social care. And I know Sonia well, because Sonia is also part of our WORAN committee. So welcome, Sonia. Next, we have Steve Mayer. So Steve has a PhD in mathematics from the University of New South Wales, Australia. And he's done postdoc work around the world. And in 2017, he was awarded the EPSRC Fellowship and has continued his research in operational research at Lancaster and Exeter. But interestingly, and we'll hear more about this today, Steve has moved away from academia to join industry, and he is working as part of an interesting project. And Steve is also part of our WORAN committee, so thank you, Steve. Next up is Owen. So Owen Daniel, he's a deputy director in the data science campus within the Office for National Statistics. He's worked on a range of different things in ONS and also across GORS, which is the Government Operational Research Service. And he's used them in a range of policy settings. So, for example, the EU exit negotiations. We also have Shauna Zhong, who is has a PhD in management science and engineering, and she has done a lot of work in OR methods. She's co-led the EU and Research England funded projects focusing on offshore wind logistics, optimization and sidechain integration. She co-founded HighChain, a free interactive web app that translates research outcomes into practical tools, offering hydrogen supply chain solutions for industry, students, and the public. And also, I need to introduce our chair for today's panel session, Xiaochen Feng. She is also a member of our WORAN committee and is on the events subcommittee. She's got a PhD in OR, and she's been at the University of Bath working on projects on material handling optimization. So at this point, I will stop sharing and hand over to Xiaochen to chair today's session.
Thanks, Catherine. So thanks, Catherine, for the wonderful introduction and for setting the stage for us. Good afternoon, everyone. A warm welcome to today's WORAN event, The Things I Wish I Would Know Earlier. I'm Xiaochen Feng, and I'm delighted to be here with you as the chair of today's session. So at the beginning, when I tried to organize this event, through my studies, I have had the chance to attend many experience sharing events similar to this one, and I have personally benefited a lot from hearing others talk openly about their past, their struggles, and their choices. And those conversations often gave me the clarity when I was unsure and helped me feel less alone in my career journey. So that's what inspired me to organize today's panel discussion to learn more about the realities of academia and industry from those with first-hand experience. And perhaps after today's session, some of the myths or uncertainties we all carry about these two words will begin to feel a little bit less mysterious. And I feel truly honored to have our four fantastic speakers with us. They come from, as Catherine introduced, they came from different diverse backgrounds, and I believe each of them will bring different perspectives on working in OR and related fields. So let's start. Let's kick things off with an icebreaker question. For each speaker, I would ask, could you briefly introduce what you are currently working on? And two, share either a fun fact about yourself or your work. Sonia, do you want to?
Oh, great. So, yes, sorry, I didn't know who was starting. Hi, everyone. It's great to be here today. I was really pleased to be asked to do this because I think it's a great idea for a session. So thank you. Okay, so at the moment, I'm working on lots of problems in healthcare, and I'm particularly excited about one that I'm hoping to start soon on looking at using OR to support improvements of services for children with complex health needs. So that's something that I'm focusing on now. Oh gosh, an icebreaker. A fun fact about me is when I was a kid, I used to enjoy juggling on a unicycle, if that counts. So
Oh,
yeah,
that's cool. Steve, do you wanna?
Yeah. So I'm working at GAMS. I guess people in operations research might know that. It's a modeling language. So there, it's interesting the fact that I actually don't do anything actually with GAMS. So I am working on things that GAMS support. So like they have different solvers that they support, open source solvers and things. So yeah, so I more work on the actual optimization solver side of things there. Fun fact, I guess yeah, so like being from Australia, people might think I guess I should be attached to beaches, but I actually didn't really get attached to it until I actually left and moved to Berlin and started open water swimming. So I did that like maybe a month before I left Australia, and then I sort of got hooked on that. So moving to the UK was kind of helpful because a bit closer to the water than it was in Berlin. So yeah.
That's nice. Shuya, do you wanna be the next?
Yes. Hi, everyone. I'm Shuya. I'm now currently doing my research in logistics and supply chain optimization in offshore wind energy and hydrogen. Problems like how to use the minimized time and cost and carbon to finish building a wind farm, etc. And instead of saying the fun facts, I will say something like surprising early career belief. So early in my career, I thought it was disloyal or somehow wrong to plan for the next career move while I start a new job or new role. But I later realized that it's actually one of the smartest ways to grow and stay ready for new opportunities. Thank you.
That's perfect. Open.
Well, I'll finish us off. So hi everyone, I'm Owen. So I currently lead a team of about 40 data scientists, operation researchers, and economists who are solving lots of big problems of how new methods can support the Office for National Statistics core outputs. So some of the big projects we're currently working on are how we can improve approaches to migration statistics, how we might look at a future census, how we can get faster indicators of what's happening in the economy, and how we can use big linked data sets to understand UK trade. And I guess a suitable fact to share for this event and this audience is I once had to apologise to Baroness Hale, the previous president of the Supreme Court, after she presented some analysis of when there would be parity in the senior judiciary of male to female representation. And I had to break the news to her that she had done something of a naive forecast, and this was misinterpreted as me calling her naive. So careful learning there that reserved technical terminology can't be assumed to be understood by all your stakeholders.
That's cool. So thank you all for those brilliant introductions. It's great to start with some smiles, and let's move to our main themes. Our panel discussion will have in total 3 themes, and the first theme is related to the career path insights. So the first question would be, why did you choose to stay in academia or move to industry after your studies? So when you chose your first job, so why did you choose to stay in academia or go to the industry? I know all of you have PhD degree, so what motivated you to make your first career choice?
Do
I
you
can
want me
start.
to? Oh, okay.
Yeah, I'll start. Yeah, so I guess for me, I never actually intended to stay in academia. It kind of just happened. So I did the PhD, and then at the end of that, I seemed like I did well. So then I thought, well, how about I just continue on and see what a postdoc looks like? And then that was okay. And then I got a fellowship. So I'm like, okay, well, I'll keep doing this stuff, and so just just sort of continued on until I got to a point where I guess it wasn't continuing on anymore for me, and I had to actually make a decision. So and so that's where I guess I made that's when the junction happened, and I was like, do I stay in industry, or do I go to industry, or do I go to stay in academia? So yeah, that's kind of, I guess, how it all happened for me.
Yeah.
So yeah, so I think that's quite a familiar story. Like I think quite a lot of people end up kind of staying in what they do for their PhD. It's quite a common way to sort of carry on with things. I was a little bit different because my PhD was in physics, experimental physics, which I did love. I thought it was brilliant. Learned a lot, but I kind of found myself just wanting a little bit more real world sort of work. So I kind of just wanted to focus on making a difference, which I didn't think I could do in sort of applied physics. So I deliberately made a decision to leave academia after my PhD, but I didn't go straight into the job. I sort of did a few bits and pieces, and then I joined the government operational research services because I hadn't heard of operational research or GORS before, but by happenstance, a friend of a friend was telling me about it, and so I got into it that way. Yeah, and that's why I left academia, but then went back into academia later on, having done a few years in GORS. But yeah, I could touch on that later.
Yeah. Shreya?
Yes, so I think my reason is related to my personality because I noticed academics seem to have more flexibility in how they arrange their time compared to many industry roles where you have to stick to a schedule. So personally, I find it quite hard to work in a fixed routine way. So I'm also someone who enjoys variety where the outcomes are uncertain and where I have the freedom to shape what I work on. So, but of course, that was how I imagined industry work at the time. So I'm sure it's not a full picture, but that was my perception back then. So looking back, it was really about understanding my own personality and knowing clearly what I didn't want to do at the time of I'm not sure what I want to do. So yeah, it's actually not just a good option, but almost the only path that truly fit me at that stage.
Yeah. Sometimes I do feel like it's really common to just continue what you were doing. It's the easiest way. I think it worked the same for me. So I finished my PhD and then I directly go for the postdoc. But hopefully after today's session, we will have other perspective by understanding the industry more. So how about you, Owen?
So I should first say what I'm about to say is quite helpful because it's like free therapy for me because I've not really thought about this question for 9 years. And I guess when I reflect back now, so when I did my PhD, I was in a very pure maths group and a very influential pure maths group. So a good friend at the time won a Fields Medal, which is the Nobel Prize of maths, at the time when I was around them. So I was around really, really great mathematicians, and I knew that I was not at that level. And so I think for me, there's a sense of, if I wasn't at that level, is there even a job for me in academia? And at the time, I didn't really know about the extent to which there's a lot of applied work going on in academia, and that just wasn't visible to me. So that's very negative framing about why I left, but at the same time, I saw the opportunities outside, and I'm very, very happy.
Yeah. That's cool. So thank you all for sharing that. It's really insightful. So let's move to the next question. It's about a belief and expectation when you had early in your career that turned out to be a little bit misleading. So Shreya touched upon a little bit on this. Do you have any more to add?
Yes, Xiaochen. So as I mentioned earlier, like the surprising early career belief, I would like to elaborate a little bit on that. So I had the one belief in my early career that was planning for the next career move from day one of your new job was somehow disloyal or wrong. But over time, I realized it is actually one of the good things that bad things you can do, not just for your future, but also to benefit your current role. It's because when you invest in your invest in yourself early on by building skills and keeping an open mind, then you're actually strengthening your core capabilities. So you're putting yourself in a better position to contribute more effectively in your current job, while also you're laying down a foundation for whatever opportunities that might come next. Then when the time does come to decide whether to stay or move on, you're choosing from a position of strength. So I've learned that preparing for the future isn't being disloyal, it's being proactive and responsible for your own growth. Yeah.
Yeah, that's totally true. How about Sonia?
Yeah, I think that's a really nice reflection. I guess in it's slightly the opposite. I felt like I thought you had to really know what you wanted to do and have it all mapped out and be kind of like then kind of go through and stuff. And I think I've learned that yes, it's good to have goals, but to maybe hold them lightly and to be able to leave yourself open to be flexible to respond to opportunities that arise and to sort of not worry too much about having everything mapped out, because it's fun to see what evolves as well.
Yeah, most of the time we can't prepare for everything. Just when opportunity come, we just grab it. How about you, Owen?
So just to build on that, I think for me, it's being prepared for your tastes and your interests to change. So now I'm in very much a leadership role. So I don't do any technical work myself, but I build the skills in others to deliver high quality analysis. And if I look back 3 years ago, I was still coding. And very quickly, I changed job. I moved to the Office of National Statistics, and literally overnight, I stopped coding. And I thought, I'm going to hate this. I still want to be technical. And literally overnight, I went, no, actually, I'm in a different headspace now. And I really enjoy just being in the leadership space. And that surprised me about myself, that I so quickly was willing to sort of make that shift.
How about you, Steve?
I guess yeah, I was not sure about that, because I guess I've sort of like done stuff on my own a lot, so it's good to yeah, I've never really thought about how the career is supposed to plan out, so I haven't actually done too much along that lines, and I've kind of worked on just taking the opportunities as they come up, and so I guess one thing I didn't like, I guess in terms of my own career, I thought like when I always thought about industry, I always thought it was quite rigid in what you do, but I found that like it really depends on the company. There's so many different types of companies out there, and so it's really a matter of what you end up in. Like the company I'm currently in is very, very flexible in everything that you do. So like it can be you can actually have just as much freedom in industry as you do in academia, maybe even more sometimes.
Yeah, thank you very much for your sharing. Actually, Steve already mentioned it. Sometimes we will have a lot of misunderstandings or in terms of like how the work will be in academia and also in the industry. So this will lead to our second theme, is to discuss the difference between the academia and the industry. So the first one will be, have you noticed any difference between working in academia and industry? Maybe Sonia and Steve will have more insights into it, but I'm also looking forward to Shuya's and Owen's opinions on that as well.
Yeah, I mean, I was only in the government OR services for a few years, and I guess there are many more similarities than maybe you think. I think when you're talking about research that's OR, because when I was in a physics PhD, I'd say that's really different from working in government, because it's very much detached from real world, and it's very you take your time over things, and it's quite isolated. Sort of, you don't really you can collaborate, but a lot of it's also working on your own. Whereas when I went to government, it's very much team working. It's very short. It kind of tends to be short projects and focused on obviously delivering on real world things. I was not particularly senior at the time, so I was doing a lot of kind of like what I was required to do from managers and things like that. So going back into academia after that, it was more, I could do what I wanted a bit more and have that flexibility in longer projects and follow my own interests. But I'd say that in OR, I still work on things that are trying to make an impact and that deal with people. So I still collaborate a lot. I work in, I have a lot of stakeholders in the NHS, in government. So all that side of it in many ways is quite similar. And I'd say I echo kind of what Owen was saying. I think it can be really different at different levels of your career, because like when you first go into industry or academia, you are the one, say, doing the coding or doing, but as you progress, I think in both sides, you then become someone who is a little bit more removed from that, and you have a team of people, and they're the ones who are doing more of the nitty-gritty of the detail.
Thank you very much for sharing. Can I ask a follow-up question? So what motivated you to do the change, like transition from the industry to the academia?
Back into academia. Well, so I think the first time when I went into government from sort of PhD, it was because I wasn't really in the right subject to be making an impact, which is what I realised that I wanted to do during my studies. So that was that. But then I realised about myself, personality-wise, that I'm quite, I guess, academic in the way I address things. I'm a bit slower and kind of want to follow my own interests and be kind of thorough. And so I think OR for me in academia was the perfect mix of kind of like doing real world stuff, but just with that little bit more detail and rigor. And yeah, I think so. That's why I guess when I was I loved a lot of things about government, like the real world stuff, but it was a bit too firefighting for me. I was a bit too, it kind of felt like a bit too reactive rather than kind of, the academic way of doing things.
Yeah, thank you very much. How about you, Steve? So what's your motivation about the change? And have you noticed any difference between working in academia and industry?
Yeah, I guess the thing that I guess made me change from academia to industry is that I kind of found that the time to do the things you want to do just isn't there. So like once you start like becoming a lecturer or a senior lecturer, you start doing teaching and admin, and then these things take over the research time. So if you want to do it yourself, it's very difficult. So you need a team in order to do that. And I actually still wanted to do like software development and work on the research myself at that stage. And I just found it wasn't. I felt like I didn't have the time to do what I wanted. It's not that the other things I didn't want to do. It's just that there's things I'd like to do more. And so that was the motivation to going into industry, because I felt like I'd have more time to focus on, say, pure software development and actually still working in like some research related areas. So I guess the one thing that's interesting by moving into industry is that you still end up in this situation where there is still a lot of things that you actually don't want to do that you have to do. So like especially around software development, there's always lots of like just very basic tasks that just have to be done because the software just needs to be updated, or you have to write tests or things. So you're not doing all the exciting research by putting in new algorithms or like extending your solvers. Like you still actually have to do like stuff that the company needs you to do because that's like it's just the nature of it. So there is like you don't get to do everything you want to do, but I feel like I guess with like in the roles I've had since leaving academia, I have had quite a lot of flexibility. So there is that's quite nice there.
Yeah.
So there, like I do get more time to do what I want.
That's nice. That's nice. So how about you, Shuya? I know you have working on different like industry collaboration projects. Do you notice any difference?
Yes, yeah, and thanks, Sonia, Steve, for the stories behind the transition. So to me, I haven't worked in industry and I haven't made the transition to industry yet, but I understand myself. I would prepare for possibly starting my own venture in the future. So I can understand my actually motivation behind this kind of transition, because when I've spent like time working on industry involved projects a lot, where we are not directly exposed to real commercial risks or rewards, I would naturally start feeling a pull or a call towards the real world side. So I would like to not just prove that an idea or a prototype that would work in truly like that would work in theory, but to actually put them into practice to see it deliver like real impact. So the desire to move from testing ideas to testing ideas in controlled settings to truly seeing them making a difference in real world environments can be a very strong motivation for me to make that shift possibly, yeah.
Yes, thank you very much. Do you have anything to add, Owen?
Yeah, so although I've not done that transition back into academia, I do work with academic institutions now as a part of my delivery, supporting my teams. And I think one of the biggest challenges in making that work is actually aligning incentives. So I think that the incentives and culture in academia and industry are quite different. At least the stereotype of academia being very competitive, quite often quite isolated, is very, very different to the way of working in government, where it's all about collaboration and being a part of a team. And that, again, wasn't something that I was exposed to at all during my PhD, where I had friends, but I never had to work with them. I never had to problem solve and overcome a challenge and maintain a social relationship at the same time. So I think those are quite different sort of ways of working, and hopefully academia is embracing those ways of working more than when I was in it.
Yeah, my personal experience, like I do feel like there are like in academia, there are more some requirement about doing more impactful research, which will lead to more collaborations within the academia and the industry, and this will impact new ideas and also do the things really needed in the society. So this also leads to our next questions that were there any misconceptions or misunderstandings in when you had before switching the sectors? For example, I always like have the lots of people told me that, okay, if you want to work in the industry, you don't need a PhD degree. It's kind of like, okay, why they can recruit those master students or you know, the bachelor degree students, and they why should they recruit you? And in this case, they will pay more. So this kind of thing, is it true in the industry, or have you ever experienced any other misconceptions or misunderstandings?
I guess,
I'll
Owen,
go
do you hire people? I guess you probably have a good
Okay.
perspective on someone.
Yeah.
Sorry, Owen, do you hire people yourself, or?
So I do, yes.
Yeah, so you probably have a
quite
perspective on this.
A lot of people who join us do have PhDs now, and academic backgrounds. And I think it's really valuable. And I think the government does make use of those. So in twofold. One is that there are increasingly a lot of very technical roles in government. And you might have seen the Prime Minister announcing sort of 1 in 10 people in government should have technical backgrounds by 2030, I think. So like there's a very clear movement in that direction and greater need for technical academic skills. I think the other thing is it's the approach to problem solving that comes with having sort of an extended period of time in academia. So I think that the way I've used my maths degree isn't necessarily so much doing probabilistic modeling of various things, although there's been lots of that during my career. It's also just being able to really clearly frame questions. And I think that's a critical part of what people learn during their time in academia that's really valuable to government, where you're working with people quite often in, say, a court, someone who runs a court who's not exposed to this type of analytical thinking, and working with them to actually go, okay, how can we rigorously define some of the challenges that you are facing, and then approach that with a systemic approach.
Anyone want to add on something?
I think it really depends on what it really depends on the company. So like at GAMS, like there's actually not like there's people with PhDs, but they're doing very different roles. So they're like compared to the people who don't. So like a lot of the people with the PhDs are doing more on the research side of things, and working with companies on actually developing models and then on the solve development side as well. Whereas there's people who don't, and so they have they've just got different roles. And they might grow in that space, but yeah, it opens up. I guess having a PhD will open you up to different opportunities than if you didn't have that.
Just to add on the sort of from the academic side, I think OR is a little bit different, because I think in most subject matters, like, you kind of would expect a postdoc to be having a PhD that's quite related to or very related to the sort of postdoc. But in OR, most of the people in my team are kind of, come from physics or like maths or whatever. They none of them have kind of got a PhD in OR, I suppose is what I was going to say. So OR does open up options in academia that wouldn't necessarily be the case in a traditional route, I think.
That's all like skill based, it seems like. So this leads to our next question. So what kind of skills or skill sets do you think are critical to succeed in academia or industry? And are there any skills are essential for both? Shuya, do you wanna start?
Yes, Xiaochen, I think my answer would be very like broad. That I would say that there would be very few skills that are completely non-transferable between academia and industry. It really depends on how you understand and reposition them. Like a skill doesn't have to be used in exactly the same way to be valuable. For example, in academia, we might develop skills through teaching, like breaking down the complex ideas to the students so that they can, students from very different backgrounds, so they can stand and engage a large cohort of hundreds of people in a meaningful way. But now, even though you might not be teaching in the same formal sense in the industry, those skills are still quite valuable. So when you are pitching to investors, selling ideas to clients, customers, or explaining technical concepts to non-specialists, it is the same core ability to make the complex simple logically, building engagement, connecting with your audience. So I would say it's less about whether skill transfers. It's more about how you choose to apply and reposition them.
Yeah. So how about Alvin? Do you want to share? So when you are trying to recruit others, what kind of skills you are looking for, like in order to work in industry or public sectors?
So Shuya did a really great job there of encapsulating everything that I agree with. Like, critically, I think there's a real thing about the ability to communicate. And I wasn't taught to communicate much when I was doing my PhD. I was fortunate that it sort of comes naturally to me and my interests, but it wasn't prioritized. And I think it's also about understanding what impact looks like in your relevant audience. So in the public sector, it really is doing analysis that is going to drive decision making. And so people might be interested in your cool technique, but if your cool technique takes 2 years to get an answer and the answer is needed in 2 weeks' time, then your values simply don't align. And so getting that understanding about shared values around what impact looks like and what a proportionate approach to problem solving is a critical skill.
Yeah. Do you have anything to add, Steve?
No, I think that's it's pretty well covered by Owen and Shuya. I felt feel like that.
Okay, so let's move to our final themes, which is the career reflection and the final mark. And so looking back to your career, what keeps you motivated all the time? Like no matter working in the industry or working in the academia, what's your motivations and what keeps you motivated? Shuya, do you want to start?
Yeah. I think for my case, the things keep me most motivated is the opportunity to learn and try different things, because I enjoy collecting different skills, experiences, rather than just repeating what I already know how to do. So if I would use OR term, I would say it's like trying to maximize the coverage of experiences. That's the motivation for myself. Yeah.
That's perfect. How about you, Sonia?
Yeah, I think I am so motivated by kind of variety and learn, continuing to learn throughout my career. But I think one thing that is perhaps more important to me than I would have realised when I set off in my career is the people around me and the collaborations, but also just the team that I spend day to day working life with keep me motivated, definitely. And then again, the having real world impact has always been the main motivator for me.
Yeah, perfect. How about you, Steve?
Yeah, I think for me I guess motivation comes from having like external projects, stuff I can do that's I guess relevant within my work, but that actually makes it like that stuff that I actually care about more than actually having to just do what other people are asking me of me. So I think that's like it's something that's I guess why I went into academia, to be able to do that, and then it's something that I still like try to pursue when I'm while I'm in industry.
Yeah, thank you very much. How about you, Owen?
Yeah, for me, it's really seeing the impact of my work, and it goes back to the very first project I delivered when I joined government, working in the prison service, was optimizing where 5 new prisons should be built. And I remember really well the day that this was published in the news, and there was this news article saying 5 new prisons being built here, £15 billion worth of public sector spending, and seeing that those were the locations that my modelling had helped us get to, and just suddenly realising like the scale of impact that I could have and be involved in delivering really key services within the UK.
Yeah, that's fascinating. So that leads to our next question. How do you measure personal or professional success? It's a bit broad, but anyone want to share a bit more about this? How do you measure your success?
I'll go, give my mic is on. I think so. Now that where I am in my career, now it's really about developing people. And so seeing people who work in my teams, seeing their motivations and their skills develop so that we are all having similar motivation and ability to identify what impact looks like. So I come from a place where everyone is a data scientist, economist, OR person. So we're all very, very techy, and seeing those people develop from coming in day one just wanting to be doing some machine learning to now having conversations where actually they're really talking about what the application is and the machine learning is the means to the end, is certainly one way that I really can see the progress and impact that I'm having.
Yeah, that's cool. How about you, Shuya?
Yeah, so I think for me, the personal success and the professional success, they don't overlap totally. So for the personal success, it's more about being able to try something new, something I haven't done before, and making it work. So that sense of growth and discovery will keep me going. So that's my personal success. And for the professional success, to be honest, I'm also on the traditional path of the academic path of pursuing the grants, publishing good journals. There's no avoiding that if you want to build an academic career. But because that journey is often long and often uncertain, I try to make sure I keep doing things that make me genuinely happy along the way. So something sometimes even slightly indulgent projects, and some of these projects might one day be recognized as professional success or even help expand how success is defined in our field. So it's about staying true to what excites me and also moving forward in the professional world. Yeah.
Yeah, that's nice. How about you, Sonia?
100% that was a great answer, and I think really reflects kind of a lot of what I think for anyone, I'd say, you do have to be pragmatic. There are going to be those things that you have to do in a career, like publish or whatever it is in industry that's the equivalent of ticking those boxes. But that has to always sort of fit in with making sure you get the enjoyment you want from your role and have the opportunity to be a bit creative and work around the margins and but you do balance that with some sort of pragmatic ticking boxes.
Yeah, absolutely. How about you, Steve?
Yeah, I think it's yeah, for me, I've got I guess bits and pieces from everyone's answers there. It's like so I guess the personal success would be to actually like continuing to develop more skills. So look, getting into areas that I actually haven't looked at before. And just instead of staying static, it's very easy to stay static and just keep reusing what you've got. And so I guess from the professional success, I'd like to be able to see myself actually making a difference within the company I'm in, or the companies I'm in, and making, whether that's helping them grow or move into different areas that they haven't looked at before. That's something that that's what I'm striving to do.
Yeah, that's really helpful. So let's lead to our final questions from this panel discussion. So after all the discussions today, what is one piece of advice you would give to early career researchers or professionals working in OWORAN or related areas? That's something you wish you would know earlier? Who would like to start? Sonia?
Yeah, okay, sure. So I think just to have the confidence to, yes, make goals and keep reflecting on what you're doing, but just be really open to things that come up, and be flexible to pivot and to sort of change as a person and be influenced by things around you as well to move forward.
Yeah, that's nice. Shuya?
Yeah, so for me, I would give one advice. Also, it's an advice to myself as well. So it's to be daring to try different paths, and also be prepared to accept failure as part of the journey. Because especially after stepping into a more independent role, like a lectureship from a PhD or a postdoc, there's a transition there. You might go through a phase that feels full of setbacks, but it's important to hold on and keep going. And because the cost of trying and failing is often much lower than we imagine. So every attempt, even if it doesn't succeed right away, will add to our growth. So try to turn the lessons and we gain from failure into a positive momentum would be important.
Thank you very much. It's really encouraging. How about you, Steve?
I think a piece of advice, I guess, for anyone who's looking to move from academia to industry would be to value yourself. So the one thing I found, like I talked to a bunch of companies while trying to move, and not everyone truly understands what academics do and then how much value they can bring. So you get knocked down because they don't think you've got industry experience. But I guess in OR you do have some level of industry experience because you do work on real world problems and you do understand how to actually deliver solutions. And I think so. Owen was saying that it seems like Owen actually really values academic input, but yeah, some companies don't seem to have that same value. So so you need to really value yourself, and if they're not going to value you, then it's probably not the company for you.
Yeah. How about you, Owen?
Yeah, I'll just go back to something that I think many of us have said, and I said earlier, just be prepared for your interest to change, and yeah, be flexible to that and expect your interest to change.
Yeah. Are you willing to do the coding again, Owen?
I still code in my personal life.
Oh, that's cool.
I don't feel any need to do it at work.
Oh, nice. So yeah, thank you all for our speakers for sharing such rich experience and advice. And we now have some time for questions from the audience. And please feel free to type your questions or just shout out your questions. Let me check. So I think we have already had questions from the audience asking what aspects of your current or past role bring you the most satisfaction or sense of value, and how you noticed it. Anyone want to start first? It's about
I can jump in
Yeah.
and just say, I think for me, I feel like I've already answered it. This was sort of the, you know, for me, seeing the impact of my work and seeing the real world changes happening on the back of me coming into work each day is what really, yeah, motivates.
Yeah. Anyone want to add on this?
Yeah, so it's same, and I think Owen said this before as well, but also seeing the impact in terms of your team developing and you know, getting like someone, you know, getting an award, for example, in my team was great. You know, that, so yeah, both having a real world impact, but also within the team that you work in.
Yeah. Anyone want to add on this? No? Okay, let's move to the next question from Catherine. Catherine, do you want to ask yourself?
Why not? Yeah, so for people in academia, so I never worked in academia, but there is a potential misconception that I have that it's really hard to achieve a work-life balance. Effectively, you have a project that you have to finish at all costs, and therefore 9 to 5 goes out the window. But I'm not 100% sure whether I'm being a bit unfair there, so I'd be interested to know a little bit about like work-life balance and how you achieve that in academia.
I think so I've not nailed this, I have to say, but I think having been in both, it's a little bit plus and minus, because like I felt like in government sometimes, you know, there's real time pressure when you had to deliver on something, like as a team, perhaps not individually necessarily, but like for a, you know, PMQ or something, you know, is a sort of deadline. Whereas with academia, is the problem I find is that because it's kind of almost a labor of love sometimes, it's like you just never really let go of it. So in the evenings you'll find yourself thinking about it and like maybe doing a bit, but that's more self-motivated kind of thing. I'd say that there's a lot, you know, it can be really competitive to get permanent positions in academia. So as a postdoc, you often end up, well, I ended up sort of overworking quite a lot to get the publication, because you get all the stuff that then you get a permanent position. I think a lot of people do that, not everyone. It depends, and I think when you get to be a bit more senior, you it's a very flexible sort of, you're very autonomous, you're very flexible, and I've found a much better work-life balance later on in my career.
Yeah. Do you have work-life balance, Shuya?
I think I don't have I don't think I have work-life balance. I'm still quite struggling with that. Not because of I'm a female or woman. It's just because of I'm academic, and it's so hard for me to like get a balance. There's no balance to me, I think, especially during the early career. We would have to like leverage more time to work to sacrifice a bit of the life in order to like get it's about the self-motivated thing Sonia said. So it's the standard you set for yourself. If you set it high, I would need to dedicate more time to that. Yeah, that's not avoidable to my understanding. Yeah.
Yeah. We have another question related to AI. So the question was like, what should I know as an early career researcher about AI's effect on my academic life? Do you think it will affect the future of the academia, and how should I prepare for that? Anyone?
I'm not in academia anymore, but I will share my views on this, because I think that I think one thing we're probably already seeing is a shift in where funding goes and in what types of projects get prioritized. So whether we're moving towards a future where, you know, look at my background in maths, where I know that really pure maths, number theory stuff was deprioritized when we moved towards more funding needing to align to EPSRC funding, which pushes people to do things that are sort of more applied. And I think that AI will probably have a similar effect of funneling people towards AI focused study in academia, and that being a major output of academia that can support industry. I think the other one is just the extent to which AI can support you in actually delivering research now. So I was playing around the other day with ChatGPT for Mini High, literally asking it questions from my PhD and seeing how it process that and seeing it like just seeing amazing results on maths problems, which have been known to be sort of one of the harder things to crack. So the extent to which AI can really supplement academic work, and how do you attribute ownership of outputs if you're doing it in an AI enabled way?
Yeah. Do you
But
have
that's my
any,
view as an outsider. So who am I to take up airtime?
anyone else want to share their view on AI? Yeah, Shreya?
Yes, so I think I don't have an answer to that, but I think that a good way to adapt to AI like this era is to step into that. I mean, to engage with it actively, or if there are any projects related to or that you can make full use of AI to empower your study, you can like try to think about that and try to evolve AI to make full use of your research. And then to about how it can actually support our work. I think the relationship will be more like a co-author or colleague or research assistant to us, not to fully replace the academics, but to support or complement the parts that we are not so good at, and that I think a generative AI will be very good about that.
Yeah, exactly. So, due to the time limit, we need to draw this session to a close. So, thank you very much to our speakers for their honesty and inspiring words, and thank you all of you in the audience for your fantastic questions and engagement. Thank you very much, and it will be nice if you can provide any feedbacks to this event so that this will be really helpful for WORAN to organize more like interesting events in the future. Karen, do you want to share the feedback link or?
There'll be an email going out after
Okay.
with all the links and details in that.
Okay. Yeah. Then thank you very much for your attending, and have a great rest of the day, everyone. Thank you very much.
Thank
Yeah,
you so
thanks
much,
everyone.
everyone.
Brilliant panel. Thanks a
Thank
lot.
you very much.
Cheers.
Bye.